Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into another fun-filled edition of Facts Not Feelings Friday. Woohoo! We have made it. We have made it, Robin. We have made it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a dicey week. As I spoke with you, you were all over the map in U.S. You were in, I think, Dallas at one point. You were back in Missouri. You were everywhere this week, right?
I was. It was a travel week for me, coming off of a SodaCon too. So I just really kind of left my major stuff in my suitcase, washed the stuff, and just threw it back in there.
You know what? You could just wear the same thing twice. You know, it's all good. No, no judgment here. No judgment here. So it's all good. At this point, I just wear T-shirts, so it's good. It's all good. Everyone.
I usually just have my Epic AF shirts on anyway, so I was just like, do I have enough Epic AF shirts in there?
Yes, and by the way, I am going to get to that. If anyone hasn't checked out Robin's Epic AF, like they're freaking phenomenal. I saw it was probably like maybe a month ago. I saw those. I was like, these are so freaking cool. Like they're so. I don't know who came up with that. I'm guessing it was you. I don't know, but it was awesome, awesome with Epic BDC, Epic AF. Like, well. Awesome branding that part. So really, really cool. So today, everyone, we have got Robin Wilson, hashtag badass boss babe with us today. So freaking cool. Oh, this has been like so long in the making to have you on the show. Like it's been trying to get my schedule lined up with your schedule. She's the founder of Epic BDC. And I always like have to pause for a second, like SCP, right? Agency. Yeah, like this over here, right there, SCP agency. And we're talking all things Outsourced BDC, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Outsourced BDC. Like maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we're thinking about it. Brooke, you're freaking crazy. We would never do that. Maybe we'll change your mind after this episode. Yeah, maybe. And maybe a lot of times I know I've been in a dealership and I ask like, okay, how's your BDC doing? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Like, how are you inspecting what you expect? Well, I don't know. They just do their things. Okay. Well, do you know how many leads you're getting? Oh, we're getting 3,000. We're getting 3,000 leads a month. Great. How many people do you have on staff in your BDC department over here? 2. You have 2?
Oh, hell.
What the actual hell are you doing? So this is such a needed topic to talk about. Okay. How are you doing it? What are you doing? All the different aspects of a BDC and what it takes and, when to go about doing this. And when I first met you, I loved the conversation that we had because at the time I was at a BDC or I was at a dealership and I just loved the different conversations we had. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you and just let you do your thing because you're you, Robin. You're you. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Okay. Well, and I'll tell you that we happened upon having a call center and a BDC accidentally. And so we at SCP Agency, we always did organic social for our clients, transitioned from small business owners to automotive in about 2014, where I was recruited by a dealership to come in and be their social media manager. I fought it tooth and nail, didn't want to do it. Like, why? I have a business. I don't want to do this thing. The GM was way smarter than me, thank God. And he's like, yeah, you may know everything about social media, but you don't know bull about automotive. And I'm like, well, I didn't know anything about the shoe boutique or the dentist office or the commercial carpet cleaner either, but I learned all that. And he's like, it's a different animal. You got to work here. And so I literally said, sir, you understand if I come to work for you, I'm going to be running my agency from your dealership. And he was like, yep, I get it. I'm like, okay. So he was right 100% on being made a manager in an automotive in a dealership. I mean, it's like getting your MBA, right? You get your automotive MBA because you get to sit with those department heads twice a week. If it's a good run dealership, all of them together, speaking all of their pains and their successes. And then if you're like me, which a lot of women aren't like me. I'm a solver. I probably have just enough testosterone in me that every time I'm like solving a problem all the time. And so I got to learn how to, within this community, which I think every dealership is like a small city. I got to learn like, how are the things that I can help this neighborhood out, that neighborhood out, this neighborhood out. And he was 100% right. I needed to be in-house to understand all of that, or I would have just been a surface level vendor serving what I thought they needed and not what they did need. And so we started doing, so we were the voice of the dealership too. We always have been. If we handle your social, when you go on Facebook Messenger and you're talking to somebody at that dealership, you're talking to my team if they're my clients. And it always has been. We've always been the voice of the dealership on the social end of it. And then when Facebook Messenger ads came out, we had the power to drop them as an agency where other agencies didn't have that ability. And this is before bots were built. So they didn't have the staff to have the conversations on the other side of we were getting leads. We were getting messages for like $2 each. So $1,000, ad spend on a messenger ad may 100% just like make this thing blow up. And did you have the staff there to have these conversations? And so this is getting me into our accidental BDC. So, and in fall of 2019, one of my dealerships that we were doing Facebook Messenger ads for said, Robin, my BDC says these Facebook leads aren't worth a crap. They're not converting, and we want to turn them off. And I said, hang on a second. Before you do that, let me see if I can call them, if my team can call them, and we can convert some of these into showroom appointments and solds. And so it just so happened that a friend of mine who lived in North Dakota, that dealership had just dissolved their BDC, and she was working from home. And I'm like, hey, Adrian, let's see if you can call these leads and we can turn this around. And so we just started playing with it in like fall of 2019. We kind of got a rhythm down, whatever. And then in January of 2020, we got our first paying client. And so at this time, everybody was still virtual. I didn't have an in-house BDC at all. I had virtual people who, before COVID, now remember, this is January 2020, before COVID, I have all these people who were like working remotely. And so we kind of put together like a 4 or 5 person team, and we were handling 2 dealerships at that time. What was catastrophic for other businesses and was cataclysmic for mine was when COVID happened, 2 things happened at the dealership. One is the dealerships that don't believe in having a BDC to begin with. They think they're a huge, colossal estrogen factory full of crap. It's so much drama, can't take it. That's the first part of their department they gutted, right? Sent them all home. The second thing that happened was all of these that are majorly female employees in a BDC had to go home and homeschool because all those kids were out of school. They had to go home. So whether they gutted them or whether they had to walk out, either way, they were sitting here with this. And a lot of their mentality was like, oh, the salespeople can make the calls. We don't even know what the future looks like. Well, the future for automotive didn't really change a whole lot if you were in most of the states besides New York and California, and the salesperson weren't going to call the leads. That's why we exist in the first place, because they won't call them. It's just not in their DNA to do it. And so we just kept growing and kept growing. And I went to a 6-person seat in-house, measured everything out, got my cubicles all built, put 6 people in there. We were handling a 4-rooftop dealership in Upper New York. And then I just kept having people calling. So I had this one big room in my old office, not in this one, that was like 16 by 25. I got my blue tape out, taped everything off. I'm like, how many cubicles can I get in here? No matter how I moved everything around, I could only get 16. So I'm like, great, 16. Called the guy in Kansas City, give me 16 more cubicles down here, order the computers, get everything set up. So I had 16 and 6. And now my Facebook team, who was in this whole other room of mine, I moved them into a storage closet because I needed more BDC space. And so they're all working on folding tables in this, 8 by 25 foot long storage closet, which is a big storage closet, but it wasn't finished walls. It was just, I felt really bad for them. And so then we bought the building that we're in now. And last July of 2021, we have 10,000 square foot. We have room for our Facebook team, our creative team, our graphic designers. We have room for 170 BDRs. We are not at capacity, and I have parking for like 110 people. So I've got 7 acres, and I can put more parking whenever I get full. But that's what got us to where we are today. The good, the bad, and the ugly of it, I've lived every bit of it. I served the good, the bad, and the ugly as we were learning through this process, because I'm going to tell you, people are naturally stingy, and they will not tell you stuff.
No, they will not. You have to pry for that information.
You just have to screw it up on your own. They're like, oh yeah, we would do that. I'm like, couldn't you have told me? So the good, bad, and the ugly is all right here.
I love it. So someone they're not sure if they don't know if they need to go to the BDC. So when you're looking at your clients and your prospective clients, when should they be going to an outsourced BDC? Like, what is that aha moment? Okay, we need to do this when you're talking to a potential client.
I think the pivot point for them, because this job is so important. The BDM, the business development manager, is the most important position, right? Because he's not just training and managing numbers, whatever. He's morale. He's everything that creates culture. A call center or a BDC is a different entity, right? They don't get that immediate gratification. They literally are hammering the phones for hours. And so whoever is that business development manager is a pivotal person within your organization. And you should 100% make sure you've got that golden nugget lined up first. If at some point your BDC is failing and then you lose your BDM, that would be the time where I would sit back and go, do I want to go find this golden nugget again and have him retrain and start with these people again? Because that's the time when the make or break is going to happen. And how long will it be before you can find that person and integrate him back into your dealership and get that ship back on course again? And a lot of outsourced BDCs won't tell you this, and they should, is that maybe even be a time for you outsource it for 3 months, right? You don't have to commit to the rest of your damn life.
Yeah.
For 3 months. Can you take that time and let somebody else handle it for you while you're finding this guy? And as long as you're transparent about it and the BDC knows it's coming too, that they know that they're just a temporary fix, then it's their job to kick ass and shine and go, you're never going to replace us because we're better than whatever you can find. And the drama and the pain and the calling in and the, oh my God, I have to leave because my left sock doesn't match, whatever it is, like even during the day. So I'm in the human capital business and I run humans all along.
Well, I think it's a very key point to bring up, that the human aspect, because I think a lot of times the question gets asked, and I know that I've been asked this as well, so I'm sure that you get asked it all the time. Okay, so I think we're ready to make that transition. So do I really need someone in house? Can I just I can either fire all these people, or maybe I can just reinsert them into other areas, or do I really even need someone in house? And that's the first point. I'm like, well, before you pull the plug on that ripcord on everyone, let's talk this through real quickly, because I'll ask a question to you. When someone asks you that, hey, do I still need someone in house, or do I just get rid of all of them? What is your response to that?
So we've been in this situation. We've literally been called in to take over a BDC, and while we're at the dealership, like hiding in another office, which is super shady, they're terminating the BDC, right? But it generally is, when it gets to that point, when a dealer principal or a GM has made that decision, it has been both times that this has happened to us. It has been because the current BDC / BDM was acting without integrity. Like, they were literally claiming everything that came in the showroom floor as their sets and working their pay plan and doing this thing. And even after being confronted with it, we're still doing that thing, which to me is just stealing. And so when they've lost faith in their integrity level of their leadership, that's when they know, like from the top down, that they can't turn this ship around and it's time to clean house. Now, that isn't necessarily always the case. Like, we have some dealerships that we work with that their BDM is still in place and we are their BDC. Okay. So we work for that BDM just like if they would hire us. We just don't sit in there with them. So it just depends on where their trust level is with who they have on staff and how they want to structure that. As long as the person who is left behind realizes that their job is not in jeopardy and that we're not the enemy, we're all on the same team, manage us, we're your team, then everything goes smoothly. It's just when you get a little bit of insecurity and then there's some sabotage going on back and forth, that sometimes cannot be a good fit. But as long as everybody is transparent and the dealer is transparent with that human that's left behind also, then it's a really good thing to have somebody on site, because you really kind of need it. You always need that contact person.
Well, and I think as well, as I've had the discussion even from my own business, is that having that outside, hey, let's hold someone accountable from the outside looking in, is like, hey, when someone asks you, I actually had this conversation with Larry Feldman last week, is that sometimes having the, hey, maybe your baby is ugly and I can call your baby ugly, but sometimes it's tough as a parent to say like, hey, your baby looks like an alien, but you're not going to say that, but I can call your baby ugly. So that is nice as well. I also want to make it very clear is that just because you decide, hey, we're going to make that leap to an outside BDC, that it doesn't mean that as managers, or if you have a BDM that is a great BDM and you're going to keep that person there, that you just say, all right, hands off the wheel. We're just going to, Jesus, take the wheel. No, that's not what happens. Not at all. It is still very, very important that as management, you still have that communication and reporting. And I know that reporting, and I'm going to have you talk about this, is that how insanely important it is that you still inspect what you expect. So talk a little bit about how you continue to do that from your standpoint. And if someone goes with another company, I don't care what company it is, obviously on the show. So we'd want you to go with your company. But it's still important that regardless of the company, that you still have that communication, that open communication.
So you have to think about it like if your BDC was on your piece of pavement, how would you communicate with them? You don't get to just throw your hands up and go, I don't need to talk to these people anymore. Mm-hmm. We need data to do our jobs. We need information. What's in our allocation? What's coming in? This customer is really stuck on this vehicle. And how does that, if we don't have that live conversation available with you? And I'll tell you, it's as varied as it can come. Like there is a software out there for our service side BDC called My Karma that a dealership uses to communicate back and forth. And they're like, communicate with us this way. And we're like, gotcha. For a lot of our dealerships, we're in a live Facebook Messenger group. And for me, that's really valuable because I can see who's read the message. If I'm asking about, hey, this customer right now is really wanting to get some out the door lease numbers, taxes included, they're in Florida, whatever. I need to know that somebody has read it and that someone's going to take ownership of it. We usually set up a communication like, give me a thumbs up, give me something that you've read it and that you're on it. So I don't have to keep coming back and asking this. With other dealerships, we have a Slack channel that we work through. So we have to have that. And the minute that the people that the GM has assigned to be our point of contact, like if it's a group of salespeople or if it's a group of sales managers, the minute that they're not responding, like my first go-to is like, I'll wait maybe 10 minutes, which is forever in BDC world. Then I'm going to the GM going, can you get someone in there to help me? We have to have it 100%. And they should want it, right? They would want it if we were sitting on their pavement. They need to want it, even though we're not sitting now that we're sitting on my pavement instead. So that open communication is super important. The reporting is the most important part of it. And I would be lying to you if I said that every one of my dealers reads the reports we send them. But
wait, people don't read reports? What are you talking about here?
I want them to go, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I go, hey, sorry, I sent this to you, but I'll resend it to you again. I'm sorry that you missed it. If you did, I'll always take the blame for them not having it.
Yeah, follow the sword.
I had it all the time. But as far as inspecting what we inspect, and I'll tell you, I learned this nugget from Evelyn Chatel. And if you don't know who Evelyn is, she's just this wonderful human that runs some big dealerships down in Miami now, but she's a Cuban immigrant. Her story is amazing if you ever get to hear it. And I asked her one year to be my mentor, and she graciously accepted, even though she had super limited time. But one of the first things that she ever told me was, Robin, when I went into this dealership that I just came down to, the first thing I did was I took off all the crap that they were measuring on the walls because it was all daily numbers. And she goes, I moved it to hourly. So we measure everything hourly. So I'm not taking credit for something that I didn't invent. This was 100% Evelyn Chatel. And so when we moved into the office we're in right now, all of our walls are gridded, and they're gridded from, because we're in Central Time. We dial from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In-house. So everything is broken down, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. All of these grids are. And so then all of my employees, their names are in the slots right here. And then every hour, this little bonging bell goes off over my sound system, tell them to come up and put their numbers on the board. They get a red pen or they get a green pen. And if their dials are under 25 per hour, they have to grab the red pen. And if they're over 25, get to grab the green pen and put their numbers up there. And then their sets are also on there. So there's initial for every dealership. And so sometimes their numbers will be low, like they'll be at 15 dials, but they had two set appointments that hour. So I've got 2Ks in that box, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hit them over the head for 15 dials because they had 2 sets. Those calls take a while. So we measure everything by the hour. I have a hype man that lives on my floor. His job is just to walk around and literally either help TOing a call or help like, hey, your dials were down by 5. How are you going to make those up? That's his job, is just to walk the floor and be that voice to them and be listening to them. If they're struggling, he'll tap in, like he'll tap them on the shoulder and go, give me that call. I'll help you with that. So we inspect everything. And that's, Wendy Reeves is on here. That's Wendy's go-to word, inspect what you expect. And the minute that you stop doing that, they're humans. They'll let you down. They'll stop doing what you want from them.
Oh, 100%. And it's so true. And people are human. So humans, even when you're doing the best you can do, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to have an off day. So having that second person to be like, hey, oh, you know what? Just helping you out, not to point out, hey, you stupid person, you made a mistake. Like, no, hey, I love the fact you have a hype man. Hey, you're doing a great job. How are we going to get that? And just positivity and leading with empathy to say, hey, you're doing a great job. How are we going to get to the next step? How are we going to get to the next level? I love that about that. It's so cool. I absolutely love that about it.
And energy, you can feel like there's days when you walk out there, it's like this room is dead. And you're like, how do we get that energy level back up? So we're constantly brainstorming, like, how do we get that energy left? Bring the music up, change the channels, play hangman. For every set that you get 2 letters of guessing. Like, we're constantly like, how do we keep this energy level up here?
And I've never heard that one. That's so great. Like, different ideas of how to constantly change things. It's just, yeah. And also, if you're not following Rob on social media, please do. Like, I'm going to we'll throw up, not going to throw up. Please don't throw up on live. Although that might get a lot more views. It's possible. We may go viral for that. But awesome follow. Like the amount of times like on TikTok or whatever one, and like it's just they're just hilarious. Like you're just a great follow. So yeah, definitely follow Robin on social media and the rest of SCP and Epic BDC. She's awesome. But yeah, love it. So okay, so we've done the outsourced BDCs. So what are we've talked about some of the, they're looking at going about that, the inner workings. What are some pros versus cons of the outsourced BDC?
Okay, so I'll start with the cons because I know what they are. So it's really the disconnected piece. So when the dealerships don't feel connected to an outsourced BDC, they're like, and I'll tell you, like, so I have some virtuals that still work for me. Like Anna lives up in Illinois, and my admin who lives down in Neosho, who like makes sure that she's putting everything in where it belongs. If we miss something, she's taking care of all of our admin stuff or building us out some volley campaigns. And so there's times when, and I'll tell you, this is me speaking, so I know the dealerships feel it. But I'm like, what the hell does she do all day? What's she doing? I don't know, because I can't see her. And so the dealership is the same way. If they can't hear, if they're not hearing from us, or they don't see us making appointments, you're not seeing stuff changing, they feel like we're not doing our job. And they're like, what are they doing all day long? Our showroom is empty. The first place they're going is me. Right. So those are some of the cons, is that disconnected, and it takes a lot of work. And I'm going to tell you, Shasta on my team is the best.
Shasta's incredible. She's awesome. I'm jumping in there. Shasta's awesome.
At dealer relations, she's the best. And I'm going to shout her praises for just a little bit, because one thing that people don't know is Shasta's 28 and a woman in the industry. Right. And so, but she is, we call her our data Nazi. Sorry if that offends anybody, but we do, because there may be a 70-year-old dealer that calls her and he says, I think our numbers are off and you guys aren't doing what you said you were going to do and blah, 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 blah. And she'll go, let me check some stuff and I'm going to call you back in about 10 minutes. And she'll go bring all the stuff and she'll go, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's your numbers from February, from March, from April. You're up 25% right now. I don't know what you're crying about. We're setting the appointments in the store. Your salespeople are not doing their job. Your sold rate went from this to this. And that's where your problem is. So maybe you need to turn around and go talk to them, because we're serving them up and you're not doing your job. And that's tough, right? That's tough to be a woman in this industry, have that conversation, be 28 also, and to have those conversations. But the respect that she has from them, because she just shoots it straight. She's never in a defense mode. And if we're wrong, she's so transparent, it makes my skin crawl sometimes, because she'll go, woo, we screwed that up big time, blah, 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 blah. And she'll tell them that too. And I'm like, God dang it, Shasta.
Like you're right again.
But that's the cons. That's the cons of it, is that disconnected feeling that they feel they can't walk down the hill and walk in your office and have a conversation with you, and you're not sitting in a manager's meeting with them. So that's probably some of the cons. The pros are a lot longer list. And for all of my friends on here, Elisa, Ryan, Wendy, even Kenny knows knows that the staffing issues are your problem, right? So we know that it's predominantly a female industry job. Like there's a lot of really good male BDMs also, but we probably looked at the numbers, it's strong. So it's like, that's a lot of, as if you're a man in the industry, that's a lot of drama to have to deal with, right? Having that many women on your staff, training them, overcoming whatever they have to do, investing in them. The training and the staffing is probably the biggest pro of having an outsourced BDC, because now that's my problem. And we save you money, right? So I can guarantee you that a dealership that has an in-house BDC versus an outsourced BDC is saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Payroll, tax, benefits, all of the stuff that they don't have to house them. They're not paying for their phone services or electricity. They're not paying for any of that stuff. And so they should really weigh the costs against that. Now, an in-house BDC 100% is going to have a better show rate. It's the best of both worlds. If you can get a good BDM, having an in-house BDC is the best bet. If that's not something that's possible for you, you live in an area where you don't have those people to draw on, you don't have a good BDM to run your team, and it's just constantly a struggle for you, outsource that. I mean, just give it to somebody else who's going to, I have human capital. I love growing and maturing these people and raising them into leaders, because that's all I do all day long is work with these BDRs. For a dealership that has 27 million things going on in a day, that is a rub. And so they'll save money, they'll save headache, they'll go home at night and not be mad at their wife because she's a woman. You know what I'm saying? There's just going to be so much more benefit of having them outsourced. And you may go from, and this just depends on the type of lead and the location of the dealership, you may go from a 65% show rate with an in-house BDC to a 50% show rate with an outsourced BDC. But you have to understand that, is that 15%, will they get more appointments set coming in the door? Will that percentage go down, but the volume go up because of the ability for someone to keep your BDC staffed all the time?
Yep. And the turnover right now is so crazy. And it was, I know when we first met, the amount of stores that were having turnover. And then you go now and the turnover is so crazy, or we can't get people in, or where are our people? Or I was talking, I was at a networking group this week, and I was talking to a staffing agency, and he goes, not only are people having trouble hiring people, that when the company hires someone, the candidate is actually accepting 2 jobs. So then the company is like, wait a second, so the person's coming in, but they've actually accepted 2 different jobs. So we don't know if the person's coming in or not. So then that is yet another reason why you don't have to worry about some. It's been multiple people have commented on here about an outsourced BDC is always going to show up, and yes, the best ability is availability. So I just love that we've multiple people have commented on this. You commented on this, and so if you're having that question of like, hey, maybe we are, maybe we want, pick up the phone. I know that you guys do. You guys are going to pick up the phone every single time. So I love that about that. And then, okay, so I know we put up this multiple times about how they can get in touch with you, can email you. That's fantastic. So the next question is, I always say, okay, before you ever slap a button on your website, before you ever look at doing anything, any process, how can that process, or how can that service, or how can anything be the most successful? So I pose the question to you is how are your dealerships, and how can it be most successful? How can the outsourced BDC be the most successful with you and your dealership? How can that partnership be the most successful?
Well, the one thing is most of the time the person that's making this decision is at the GM level, right? The GM or the dealer principal is making this decision. He has got to get the buy-in of the general sales manager, the new car manager, the pre-owned manager. Every damn buddy has got to be bought into this, that we are a team. And if not, and everyone who's worked in a dealership knows the minute that friction starts happening and it keeps coming back to the owner, they did this, they said that, they're lying to our customers, they're getting people in here and they can't even buy a slice of bread. The minute that friction starts happening, then the GM starts looking for another solution because nobody likes that friction. And so they have got to be all on board. And if that means that the dealer principal or the GM makes that decision, the next meeting has got to be with the rest of the decision makers, the ones who are all day long running that, who we're going to have to be dealing with on a regular basis. We have got to 100% make that relationship connection there. That's how they make it successful, is getting the buy-in from the rest of their staff.
And I say, as that buy-in happens, continually knowing that if there's an issue, go to you about it, not
Right.
go to someone else and be like the underminings of I'll go back to the word drama. It's like, oh, well, they're not doing their job. And you see that with any business, and it's, oh, well, this is a little, like the little nitpicky things of just the undermining, I guess the best word to use there is that, like, no, just if there's an issue, go to the source. If there's an issue with this.
And it's blame shift, right? It's blame shift all the time too. Nobody wants to be sitting in that manager's meeting when that GM is pissed because we don't have enough, new cars out for the month, and it's got to be somebody's fault. Who's going to be? I'm not in the room. I'm taking that blame. I can 100% guarantee you I'm taking that blame, instead of, hey, Robin, how can we get an extra 20 K5s out this month? Because that's what's super important for us making dealer cash. Yeah. Like that open communication going, think about us. We are your asset. If we were on your property, would you walk down to us and go, hey, we're going to miss our dealer cash if we can't get blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to say, we're going to pull a list of Optima owners and Cadenza owners and K5 owners through, and we're going to create a call campaign. And we're going to tell them, dude, for the first time in 6 months, we have an overabundance of K5s in right now. Have you driven one? Get in here. And we'll create a campaign around getting that done, if they will treat us like a damn partner instead of like a vendor.
And anyone that's heard me talk for 2 seconds, I have a massive pet peeve when someone calls me a vendor, because I've been on the other side. I've been on both sides. And the minute someone calls you a vendor, you're like, oh, so either you don't see me as a partner or you're canceling my contract, because I should be a partner. I'm a partner with you because I'm helping you. Like so I'm 100% in agreements with that. It drives me bonkers when people say that. And I should be seeing that. Like, even if I am virtual, even if I'm a state away, I see you that way. I see it. I'm protecting you. You should see me the same way. So yeah, I'm 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. And yeah, we're just going to, I love everything about this. It's a much needed topic. Much needed topic. It's anything else.
So, if you have an outsourced BDC, I think, Ryan, you do. I know Wendy does. Please understand that these dealers are so underserved. I mean, I think 150 new companies could come in the market and we still would not have them served well enough. So I believe in abundance, and I don't believe in competition. I was telling Brooke this before we started. Anything that you want to know, like if I know it, I will tell you. Like, I'm not going, oh, these are my trade secrets. I'm not. Like, anything you want to know, I stumbled upon it, or I asked questions, or Wendy helped me, or Sarah helped me, or Drive Centric guy helped me. Somebody helped me every step of the way when I had a question. I had all these assets in the industry to go to and go, how did you handle this? And so I'm just that generous with that too. If I've got something and you want to know it, it's free. Like, just call me.
Amen to that. This industry is big enough for all of us. And so, and the only way that we move forward is for all of us to work together. I was talking to April Simmons last night, and we were just talking about, man, there's, whether it's the GLB stuff where I'll save that conversation for another day, where we've got so many things that we've all got to come together. And there's just so much stuff that all of us can come together. We can all work together. So it doesn't matter whether it's this or something else yes, I cannot say amen enough on that portion of it. So we can all work together. And we need to, we 100% need to. So love it. And I love, I just love all the comments that are coming in and the collaboration on this. And if you are looking for if you're even thinking about this, they're all, reach out.
And there's so many good outsourced BDCs there.
Yes.
And all of us operate differently. Like, some won't work in your CRM and some want to use their software. And it really is whatever fits your dealership and how you want to do business. There's somebody out there that will do it for you. As long as they can tie down that communication piece, you've got a good fit.
Yeah, 100%. the biggest thing is it comes back to that communication portion of it. And I believe, I think that, like I said, go back to the first time I met you, it was, hey, why is it you want to do this? Why is it that you want to do this? And then is it you're just thinking about it, you're tapping your putting your toes in the water? What is the reason for it? And then when you do it, you've got to commit. That's the biggest thing. Even if it's that, like you said, even if it's for those 3 months that you're committing,
Right.
commit to it and then have the buy-in. And that's the biggest thing. So yeah. And there's pros and cons to each, just make sure that when you do it, that's the decision you want to make. And yeah, I love it. So before we jump into this, I'm gonna throw up the stuff. I always have to be careful. I say that. I keep saying throw up, and that's just like not even remotely attractive. Just like that. Throw this up here. And for the audience that's going to be listening to this in podcast land, where can our audience find you, follow you, and see your beautiful, beautiful face?
So, most of you already know I'm on social everywhere. So LinkedIn, I'm there at least once or twice a day. Facebook, probably more than that. And TikTok, not as much as I need to be, although I have a schedule of stuff to put out there. But a Facebook Messenger, like you can Facebook message me anytime, and I'm going to get that message and respond within minutes usually.
Yes. And and whether it's your personal account, and anyone that's watching, you've got the personalized linked up there, and this is streaming anywhere except YouTube. YouTube will be up next week, and then podcast land, the same thing up there next week as well. And then, like I said, her agencies, she's about everywhere. And if you do follow her on TikTok, it is pretty funny. So enjoy. You'll get a few good laughs out of it. So definitely follow her. All right, into the lightning round here is, what would be some advice you would give a fellow female looking to either that's looking to get in the industry or that is currently in the industry right now?
So your slogan on your shirt is like the number one thing: facts, not feelings. 100%. So and we say that around here all the time, whenever I'm like, and someone wants to look, and I feel like blah blah blah, hang on, let's go back to the facts. What are the facts of this? And so that, and learning how to compartmentalize. So if you can compartmentalize, like what you're at work, does not determine how somebody speaks to you in the automotive industry, does not determine who you are. Compartmentalize that you are at this job, you're in a male dominated industry, and that they communicate differently than your friends do. And then when you go home, girl it up, be who you are, feel all of the feels, do whatever, but 100% do not, while you're at work, the best thing I can tell you is to not use feeling words. I feel like this, I blah, 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 because and I'm not telling people like how you have to live in a man's world. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in business, even whether it's in a dealership or it's somewhere else, whenever you're discussing a topic with anybody in business, it really is the best to leave all the feeling words out of it and just bring the data that needs to be addressed.
As you know, I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, it's really, really true. Stick to the data as much as possible, and make sure it's actual data and not trying to use a report to sway someone to prove a point. So that's another one. All right. So outside of work, what are you doing for fun? What are you doing to relax, to unwind?
So my backyard, I have an in-ground pool. It's not a flex; it came with the house. So
I don't know. It's been part of the problem, or part of the process.
So we call my backyard America. There's no Taliban there. There's no COVID there. It's America. So we hang out in America as much as possible. Like literally, my best friend and business partner, she'll message me. She'll go, "Is America open this weekend?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. That side gate's open all the time." So it's generally that with family and friends. That's what we just literally just hang out, grill meat, and hang out in America. That's generally it.
America. Okay, I like it. I literally just saw all of was it Team America flash through my head, by the way.
I'm actually making some shirts right now. I don't know what that, but they're going to be American AF.
First off, I need that. I think I need that shirt. We'll swap shirts out here. So.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Let's go with if you have either favorite vacation spot or a one-way ticket, where are you going? I'm guessing America.
I can hold my breath right now, and people will start popping the answer in here right now. Costa Rica is my go-to. I grew up in California, and Costa Rica reminds me of California 1970. Like it's just that vibe. There's no franchises. Where I go, there's no franchise, no McDonald's, no Burger King, no Hyatt's, no nothing. It's just unblemished, beautiful area, and the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Do you have a house there, by the way?
I did. So before COVID, we had a place down there that we leased for a year. The requirements for buying down there are a little bit more stringent. So a lot of people will just go in and lease. And then I used to house sit for a good friend of mine all the time too. And then I haven't been there since COVID, but we're going in December. So I'm super excited about that.
Okay. 'Cause I couldn't remember. I thought you had a place, but okay, that explains it. Okay, cool. That is one place I've not been in Costa Rica. Been a few places, but I've not been there. So that's on the bucket list. So we'll have to get there. All right. So obviously, facts, not feelings, name of the show. So what is something that can be in personal life or in business what is something you're constantly have to distinguish facts from feelings?
Well, and so we're a women-owned company. My executive leadership team is all women, and I would say that we're probably staffed 70+% women also. And so this is the facts not feeling are a constant, right? When they want to come in and go, so and so, blah 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 blah, so and so, da 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 da, and it's like, hang on, like I may have some of my leadership team that is like rallying to have somebody terminated, for example. And so I have to go back. I have to just stop and calm down because they all have feelings about this person because at one point or another, they have offended them or pissed them off or whatever. And I'll go, okay, are they hitting their dials? Are they hitting their sets per hour? Or what is their show rate at? And I'm going to come back to that and go, are you telling me that this person right here has zero value here? Let's get back to the facts about this human right now. Now, it may be, so we do a quadrant, right? And so they're high value, low value, high drama, low drama. And ideally, you would have that high value, low drama person, that unicorn that exists right there. There are so few of those. And you can only have so many that are high value, high value, high drama. You can only have a few of those because they're just so much. You can have zero low value, high drama, right? So like every time someone will come in, I'll like, okay, we'll get the quadrant out again and go, where do they fall in here? Let's put them back in here again. And so we just do it without all of the feelings involved in it, just the facts and the data. How are they performing? How is their attendance? All of those things. And then we just weed all the rest of the crap out and go, okay, here's the quadrant you told me that they're in right now. Are we okay with this? Let's find another dealership for them maybe. If they're not, if they're just not a fit with this dealership, let's move them on a different team. But we're constantly, it will always come down, and my question will always be, you're telling me they have zero value? That's what you're telling me. Maybe it's the right person in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah. No, I love it. And once again, going back to let's look at this from a statistical standpoint or from a data standpoint before we say, oh, I just don't like the person because they looked at me oddly or whatever it may be. So I love it. All right, let's go with what advice would you give your younger self?
Honestly, it would probably to be a bigger trailblazer. So I believe that when you're born as a natural leader, and in third grade, my teacher told me Robin had leadership abilities and she used them for good, not evil. So I believe that when you are gifted with a natural leadership and somebody recognizes early on, there should be people in place that step in and tell you, like, these are the things you can change the world, and now I'm a baby boomer, and this sentence is going to maybe piss some people off. Like, I generally don't care. So I no longer identify as a baby boomer. I identify as a Gen X because I decided to be trans decade, and I went back to 48 instead of 58.
I love you.
With that said, people didn't tell little girls in the 1970s that they could make a difference anywhere. Oh. And but nobody told me I couldn't either. So I would probably have hoped to be a bigger trailblazer and to set a better example by choosing better, by not putting some man above what goals were mine. And I preach this to my employees all the time. I'm like, make a decision based on your life. Nobody's crawling in that casket with you. How do you want to get to the end of your life and what it looks like? What do you want your kids to learn from the actions you're taking every day? Be the example, because all they're going to do is what you do. They watch you. They're little monkeys. They ape you all day long. And even if you don't say it out your mouth that it's okay to be this way, if you're doing the thing, then you're telling them without even saying it. So Probably if I could have been a better example to my kids in my younger years, if I could have figured all this crap out earlier, that would have been great. I don't know. That's all. Just learn the shit fast.
Yeah, it's true. Well, yeah, man, if all of us could have figured out the shit faster, man, that would make the world a better place, first off. So, yeah. All right, let's round it out with what's your favorite car?
So this is an interesting question, and I'll tell you why. Because I used to train salespeople on how to run their social media and about them making assumptions about customers that come onto the lot, whatever they drive in on, and you make an assumption they drove in on an SUV, they probably want to look at an SUV. That's probably who they are, right? And not doing that fact finding. And I'll tell them, I'll give you $100. Everybody saw what I came in on, right? Like I would tell them, they would go, yeah, you drove in a Range Rover, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then I'll give you $100 if you can guess what my vehicle was before this Range Rover. And they're like guessing like some stupid car and what it was, and it was a two-door Wrangler Sport, a Jeep Wrangler Sport. I'm like, okay, another $100 bill if you can guess what it was before that, because they think they're finding a trend, right? Like I like an SUV, but I upgraded to the Range Rover, and so they like go back one car, and they're like guessing something stupid. And once again, I'm like, no, it's a Cadillac CTS. And then there's just no rhyme or reason. So I just tell you that I love what I love at the moment. And right now I am in a Wrangler 4xe. So I have electric, gas, and hybrid. I'm so excited. I live 2 miles from my office, so I rarely get off of electric because I don't have to go very far.
You don't have to. That's perfect.
And plus, I feel like a badass in my Jeep, right? So, but then it's electric. So, like, I'm living both sides of my reality.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Tara Rigo was on a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago, and she was the same thing. She's like, it's whatever I like right now. Like that's my favorite car, and right now I'm on this, and then maybe in 6 months I'll be on something else. Like it just depends on what I am. So no, nothing wrong with that. I love it, and they're great cars. Like the Wrangler's that's a pretty badass. That's a good choice. Good choice. So I love it. Well, thank you so much, Robin. It has been a blast interviewing and learning more about this. And I think it's a message that definitely hit home, as you can tell. And it's something that I think more people need to, I think when they hear it, automatically there's this, maybe cringe. Oh, I'm never going to do that. It's not going to work. And it's just knowing more about it and how it can be most successful. So thank you so much for coming on the show, enlightening our audience, and just having a fun conversation a little bit about it. So I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I would tell the viewers to get to know the people who run these companies, not just myself, but all the people running these companies. They're all people. It's not like I'm going to do an outsourced BDC. It's like, no, I'm going to reach out to Wendy and see what she can offer me, how she can solve my problems. Get to know these people and have those conversations. Don't just think it as what if we lumped all car dealerships together and went, I'm going to go to the dealership. We don't. We need to go to this dealership because it's different. Well, you need to meet these people too.
100%. Yeah, and I think you bring up a very, very valid point there, is that all of these companies are people that are trying at the end of the day to help you at your dealership to do what you're doing and to move the auto industry forward and to help you sell cars and help your ROI and help all those things. So it is very, very true. So, and they're just trying to help. So very, very true statement. So with that, everyone, have an incredible weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Super, super appreciate it. And as always, find a way to serve today. Find a way to go help your colleague, to help your neighbor. And it can be something as simple as a smile or open the door for someone, but just find a way to help someone today, find a way to serve. And with that, everyone, we'll see you next week. We're very, very excited. And everyone, have a wonderful weekend. All right, everyone, see you. Bye.